I've done Bubsy 3D, I've done E.T., I've done Sonic 2006, and I've even done Big Rigs. Might as well do this one.
I saw Kazam, and it sucked. Shaq cannot act, nor can he sing. I don't know why he thought he could. Maybe he took one too many basketballs to the head. But if that wasn't enough, he was in Steel, and I really hated that movie. It practically killed the comic book movie genre because it was so bad. Just because you're good at a sport doesn't mean you're going to be good at anything else. If you sucked at movies and music, don't even bother with video games. Do you really want to fail for a third time?
If your name gets slapped on a lot of things for people to buy, doesn't that make you, a whore? And isn't that illegal? Well, except for in the state of Nevada. And Germany, for that matter.
But games like this weren't uncommon back in those days. Something or someone was popular or famous, there would be a game either based on it or with someone's name slapped on it. If you've seen the AVGN's review of Atari games, he mentions a bunch of sports games that have the names of famous players on it. Shaq Fu is one of those few oddities where it's not a game based on the sport the person is known for playing. Shaq Fu is a fighting game. A really bad fighting game.
And a really bad pun on Kung Fu.
You're probably wondering why I'm reviewing this game. Well, I wanted to review Paper Mario actually, but the game kept screwing up on me. But then I was going to review Crash Bandicoot, but I really couldn't pull much from it that would make the review longer than a minute. MDK was also on my list, but it's not as good as I remembered. So out of desperation, I went with the first bad game that came to mind that I haven't reviewed, and that was Shaq Fu.
And because I'm such a masochist, it's time to review this game.
The game starts off with Shaq in Tokyo, wandering the vast empty streets where he waits for his charity game to start. He then enters a Kung Fu store. Okay, let's stop right there. Kung Fu is an incorrect term. It actually refers to individual accomplishments as a result of hard work. The term wushu is the correct term when referring to Chinese martial arts. Secondly, Shaq is in Tokyo, which is obviously in Japan, and Japanese martial arts are known as Budo, which is a modern term to describe martial arts as a way of life. Bujutsu refers to the practical use of martial arts in combat, and Bugai is the term that's used when the techniques are being used in a learning environment.
Already started the game, and there's a cultural mistake. Can't get much worse than this, can it?
But I suppose you could say that there's a Kung Fu dojo in Tokyo, Japan. But do you really want to defend this game? Defending this game is like defending Charles Manson. You're not going to win. The rest of the story is that Shaq is told that he's a star that's going to save a kid in another world, walks into a portal and arrives in another dimension. He walks around looking for information, and the people he meets want to kill him.
So all you have to do is defeat your opponent and move on to the next one. Sounds easy, right? No, it's not.
The game is virtually unplayable. There are several issues that you're going to face. First off, Shaq moves very slowly and is stiff as a brick in handling, while your opponent on the other hand moves incredibly fast and has a wide array of combos and special moves to use against you. Shaq has two special moves, the Inferno Kick that I was barely able to pull off because of the stiff controls. The game screen says the move is down forward. It's not quarter circle forward as some people may try, but it won't work. I've tried the directional pad and an analog stick. There is no easy way of pulling it off. Then there's the Shakyukin. This move is pulled off by hitting forward, back, forward, and one of the punch buttons. I've tried both punch buttons and neither of them work. The stiff controls do not help in attacking or jumping. Very rarely was I able to jump forward. The way you jump is almost exactly like Action 52's way of jumping. The enemy AI is relentless. I mean, it's insane. There is never any chance for an opening because they just get up your ass, and when they're not on top of you, they're lobbing projectile after projectile. There's just no feasible way to make any progress in this game unless you use a game genie or something. What makes this game extremely difficult is that the enemy regains their health when they hit you. That is incredibly stupid. And speaking of stupid, you can't block at all. I've held back all the time and it did nothing, but the AI can block with no problem. I've looked up the controls. It says that you can block by holding back, but I can't get Shaq to block at all, unless it's some odd wacko button combination that I couldn't figure out.
This is the controller This is the controller I use. I don't beat on it and I treat it with care. And it works with all my other games. So it's not my controller, It's Shaq Fu.
There's a shield that you can do, and I think it blocks energy-based attacks, but everything else goes through it. However, I didn't see it do anything worthwhile. Shaq Fu is one of those games that's difficult due to bad programming, not because it was designed to be difficult. If the controls for Shaq weren't stiff and slow, if you responded to combo inputs, if the combo inputs were more like normal fighting games, and if the block that doesn't exist actually existed, then it would be playable at least. But it would still be a stupid idea of a game.
This is one of those cases where I shouldn't even have to tell you what I'm going to rate it. But if you haven't guessed yet, here it is. See you next week.